One thing is always simple is when you're having a live session, the nuggets keep being poured and the conversations will never be the same as a live session. So make sure you nudge your friend and make sure they join. Now, today, and I'm insisting on this, today for us particularly, we are focusing on only one simple thing in sharing content that will improve your life and in your career. So our first guest who I'm going to introduce, I think I have known Daniel for the longest, even before I started interacting with him on a one-to-one. Daniel Mutuku is the kind of person who outpours energy, and you will feel it. He outpours energy, but also outpours great tips when it comes to supporting people, where he is the one who leads in Career Point Solutions, and he has very interesting solutions on handling job search, in navigating job search, and they're always realistic. And Daniel is a highly experienced job and career change coach. Okay, so it's job and career change coach, meaning if you are thinking of handling change management, he's the right person. You're thinking of handling a change in your career or in your life, he's the person to go to. And apart from the fact that he does that in career solutions, he also offers guidelines or guidance when it comes to career advice, not only to corporates, but also individuals. And he always seeks to assist anyone who is transitioning in their career. And that means in different industries, spanning over the last 12 years, he has been doing it. Meaning, if you ask Daniel, how can I get to UN? He'll give you the tip. And how can I get to that great manufacturing company? He'll give you the tip on how you can get yourself there. But also, apart from that, he has managed in coaching quite a number of senior professionals. And currently now he serves as a growth and productivity performance coach at Career Point, where he empowers managers and leaders to excel in their roles. He also does personal coaching, where he focuses on personalized coaching and identifies the strengths overcoming challenges. And challenges is imposter syndrome. All those things that come in the way when you're just about to land that job, he's able to help you through. And then finally, apart from managing leaders and enhancing their performance significantly, he's also an expert and a dedicated individual when it comes to leadership training. So he has helped you get into the role. He helps you grow your path as you move on. And one thing I want to know from you, Daniel, as I just invite you, is one simple thing. What drives you? What makes you tick in that 1 second when I look at your videos and you just say all these great things? What drives you? Daniel, karibu sana.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you inviting me here today to share with the audience. I think one of the things that really drives me is when I see a positive change that I've had on people's lives. And when I get that email, someone saying, oh, thanks, I watched your videos, I went to the interview, and I actually passed. I'm like, I think that is what drives me. As much as it's a lot of work to produce the videos, but that validates and tells me, keep going. When I hear someone telling me, I had this, I was in this career, it was really stressing me, but I've been able to transition to something that I love, that really makes me go for it. So I think that really motivates me. And also, I like taking challenges. I want to work on something that maybe others would find impossible. And then I work it through until it works. So those are among the things that really drives me and motivates me.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think with that said, it also shows the passion in you. It's not just about doing the job or delivering what is expected. It's also working the journey on an individual level. My next guest is Nancy. And one thing I would want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is Nancy is your morning cup. And I want to use this analogy, Nancy, and you get me where I'm getting with it, is Nancy is a transitional coach and she has had 30 years experience. But the interesting thing is Nancy has also transitioned and gone through that journey as an individual level. So when I'm talking to you and I'm saying she's your morning cup, she is one person who just brightens you in terms of what she has done, you know? And one thing I'll tell you, apart from the fact that she has worked in PR, in publishing companies, and she has worked in huge companies. I mean, you ask somebody, do you want to work in World Bank? Nancy has worked in World Bank. You want to work with the Kenyan government? Nancy has done it. You want to be a senior executive? Nancy has done it. She has even been in US. But the most amazing thing, and this is one thing I like about Nancy, is she focuses on her goals, and she says, and I remember the last time we did a live with her, she said, I only have one goal. I have only one plan. There's no one plan B, there's no plan C. So I have to give it my best. I have to give it all that I have. And to me, that is my morning cup, because that is the thing I want to be reminded when I wake up, that I only have one and one goal. Nancy, Cairo, welcome. Please tell us, how do you do it? How do you find yourself in that sense of you are focusing on one goal and not having a plan B? Everyone always has a plan B, you know, like nobody just has one goal. How do you do it?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Dorcas. This is a real pleasure to be with everybody today. I think I've always felt that if you have a plan B, C, D, etc., then you can't focus on that plan A. Also, it's almost like you're making an excuse for yourself. If this doesn't work, at least I have all these other things, you know? So I like to go, you know, when I'm trying to achieve a big, ambitious, kind of bold dream, I like to move forward with only that one focus and tell myself, there's no way that I'm going back, and there's no way that I'm going to, you know, divert and try to look for a plan B, C, D. I really believe that the human mind, we're much more likely to achieve things if we focus on one thing.
Great. I love that. Achieve one thing if you focus on one thing. I think sometimes then it means we overthink, and that's why we try to create other routes that may not necessarily take us to where we want to be. Thank you. I really appreciate that nugget. Now, our next speaker introduction is Alice. Now, I think the one amazing thing I'll tell you about Alice, and now you'll get the connection between Alice and also Nancy, is the transition aspect and understanding how to do a transferable skill. The amazing thing I love about Nancy's Alice's journey and also Nancy's journey is how you're able to move from one industry to another, and then later on focus on your passion. Alice Ngigi is a well-known coach, and over the years, she has been a personal coach, growth and leadership coach with over 20 years experience in the pharmaceutical industry. She holds a master's degree in leadership and specializes in leadership in transition, drawing from all her experience in corporate leadership, but also in her journey in observing others in struggling. She has been able to build a program that is able to help people through actual experience and actual studying and seeing what they're going through. She is also the CEO of Alios Coaching organization, where it focuses in developing authentic leadership through coaching. She's also a speaker. She has written books, 11 Critical Essentials for Creating a Powerful Vision Board. By the way, if you want a vision board, she's the one. She's the queen of vision board, because I like the fact that when people think about transition, people talk about writing goals. And when you think about writing goals, it means you need to write them clearly where you can see them and remind yourself of what you want to achieve. So Alice Ngigi, welcome. Now, I have one question for you. How did you move from being a pharmaceutical industry expert into a growth leadership coach? Because I'll tell you for sure, there's money in pharmaceutical. It flows, everything. There are millionaires who are made even during COVID. You know, there's so much that happens in that space. How do you move to a space where it focuses on soft skills and not necessarily an area I would have foreseen someone with such experience? Tell me.
Thank you, Dorcas. One of the things that I would want to say is that, as you have rightly said, I didn't just start as a coach. I started in the pharmaceutical industry. I trained in pharmacy. And as soon as I started working, I realized that's not mine. You know, it sounded crazy. A lot of people wondered why. That's the industry where people make money. And for me, it wasn't really about money. For me, it was about fulfilling who I am and just being alignment with who I am. And that is part of the reason why I actually transitioned from community pharmacy, as we call it, when you're working in the hospitals or in the chemists, to selling. Because for me, I love challenges. I found sitting behind the counter counting pills very monotonous, and that is not the way I'm created. And maybe later we will talk and see how I was able to transition. It's just finding my true north and knowing this is actually the way that I want to go. One thing that I knew about myself, and I knew that long ago, is that I love people, I love hanging around people, and I love just motivating people. So that is part of my journey, which has actually brought me to where I am today. It is just trying, as Nancy was saying, focusing on what you want to do and where you want to go without an option. That is how I ended up being where I am. But it was discovering early enough what I want for myself, irrespective of what other people say. It may sound foolish to other people, but that is what I felt was in my heart for me to follow. I'm sure we'll share quite a little bit more as we go on. But yes, that is how I was able to transition to where I am, working with people, because that is what gives me the boost every day.
Wow, I love how you mentioned, finding your true north. I think when you combine what Nancy said and also you combine with how Daniel said, if we're able to just get it right, understanding how our willingness and our drive, and then connecting with our one goal, we'll be able to focus and get to our true north. And that's so amazing. So without further ado, I would like us to just dive deep and just see what you really want to know from each one of you, knowing very well that we're going to learn so much. Daniel, the floor is yours. Please make sure you don't leave anything. Turn every side, because our goal is to figure out how do we understand that we have this skill, but also know that in the kind of path we live, and this I'm talking about also from a personal perspective when I was growing up, our parents sort of dictate what kind of career path we should take based on, of course, the experience and how the industry has been. How do we come out and stand apart from everything else? So over to you, Daniel. I am set and ready to listen to all the nuggets. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And I'm also glad that you invited me to share my experience and what I've seen really working in the market. And I'm also equally interested to hear from the rest of our speakers. I want just to talk a little bit about the idea of exploring these unconventional careers. And one of the tasks was to think about a case study. And funny enough, I would say I found myself being that case study. I am going to share most of the things that probably you might not know about me. And my career path, as Dorcas, you have, I think, gone into details, just sharing this part of which I'm really known for as a leadership and career coach working at Career Point Solutions. And this is what I'm mainly known for. But behind the scene, I would say there are certain unconventional paths that I've been able to follow that have actually supported me to be the kind of leader or leadership and career coach that I am. Behind the scene, I'm also an entrepreneur. And not an entrepreneur in the sense of just creating a business. I believe true entrepreneurship is being able to identify a problem or a challenge and then providing a solution to it. in terms of careers, helping people transition or being able to change jobs and all that. Also behind the scene, but now this is a bit more public. I am a content creator on YouTube. I don't only create videos for careers, but I look at it as a content creation, whereby there are certain rules that you can be able to follow or principles in content creation that will really make it pop out and actually reach the right people that you want to get there. I've been asked by so many people, oh, I like your videos, but those thumbnails of yours, those images, those faces that you make, and I'm like, yeah, they have a purpose. If I don't do that, probably it will not capture your attention. You will not click to it and then get the value that is there. So there's an art to it. I would also say I'm a digital marketer. I've done a lot of training, mainly online on digital marketing. I'm a certified digital marketer by Google, and I use that kind of skills to actually support me when I'm running my business. I do all the ads, the Facebook ads, the online campaigns, and all that, because I have a strength at that. Then I also have other people who come in to join and support in other areas. I'm also a programmer. As much as I don't use this for commercial purposes, I don't program or code for other people, maybe apps or websites, but I do it for Career Point Solutions. The whole website, I'm the one who created it, I manage it, and I also still create what we call sales funnels and all those things for myself or for Career Point Solutions. And that actually now supports the main role. I know what works, what doesn't work. And just to throw you back, guess what I did in the university? I actually did a Bachelor of Science in Physics. And most people are like, how did you end up as a career coach? And here you are, you did physics. Yes. And another aspect of it is I'm also a teacher. So currently, yes, I do teach physics and computer science. And that actually builds up like my whole career. That builds up who I am as much as I'm known from one side. Thinking about that, and to the audience who are here, how would you then approach or start exploring these unconventional careers? And the conventional or the traditional one being you go to school, you finish, you get a good, go to college or university, get your degree, get your diploma, look for a job, work for the next, I don't know how many years, you retire and you're like, I really probably didn't like my job, but I had to provide for my family. I hated what I was doing, but I had bills to pay. How can you still go the unconventional way and find that personal fulfillment? And there are several ideas that I would want to share with you. The first, I would say, it is important for you to embrace change and flexibility. The world is changing very quickly, and the only constant thing on earth is change. How can you adapt to it? Several ideas. Number one, think about how can I take advantage of the emerging fields and technology. Right now, everybody's talking about AI. Blockchain is still an emerging technology. There's virtual reality. There is clean energy. Where are you aligned to? Is there an opportunity whereby you might learn about AI as much as you are an accountant, then use this AI knowledge to really support your accounting, because that is also something that you're interested in or you are passionate about. How do you learn about clean energy and the production of clean energy as much as you are an IT or a lawyer, whereby then you can be the advocate of the clean energy and all that? Trying to think about not only doing one line of course and then say, this is it, I will do this for the rest of my life. Spice it up, look at the emerging technologies and fields and see which one best aligned to you. I would also suggest you can think about freelancing. Now, especially when COVID hit, this is one of the fields that really grew, and freelancing is just about the gig economy. How can you be able to provide a service for someone who is not necessarily within your geographical region, and because they need the service, you have that skill, you have that expertise, You do it for them on a gig basis, they pay you, and you continue life. There are platforms like Freelancer, there's Upwork, there is Fiverr. There might, let me just say, it might not be very simple for you to start, log in, get some work and start type. There's maybe writing jobs, there's proofreading, there's design, there is photography, videography, editing, and all those kind of things. But just try out. Could this be the path that I would want to maybe try and explore and see how it can enrich my current career path? Entrepreneurship. And as I said earlier, it's entrepreneurship not from the aspect of just running a business. Yeah, a business can be part of entrepreneurship, but really thinking through, how can I be able to provide a solution to an existing problem or a challenge, and in that process, get paid or be compensated? Sometimes the entrepreneurship mindset can still be very valuable in your employment without necessarily going and starting your own business. That mindset is what is important. You can decide probably to explore that. Social impact and purpose-driven work. There are organizations that are set up not only for profit making, but actually to have an impact in the community. Most of the NGOs, humanitarian jobs, this is their purpose. And if it is something that really aligns to you, you're really passionate about educating girls, and there is a certain project or program that is actually going out there into the rural areas to try to get as many girls to schools as possible, you might be working there and getting more fulfillment from the work rather than just the paycheck that you get at the end of the month. I've seen people leaving high-paying corporate jobs to purpose-driven jobs that might not be paying that well, but they have a higher level of satisfaction because they are serving their purpose. Probably that would be an area you can think about. And then we have creative arts, singing, music, that is music, art, performing arts. By the way, on a side, I'm also an actor. As much as I don't do it for money, I do it as a hobby. And I've seen people who are fully in that space. They're actors, they do a lot of production, and that is how they make their money. When I go to the theater, I just don't see time going, as much as I'm not paid for it. But I'm sure if I had an opportunity to be doing that for a living and I'm paid for it, I would be even happier. But I still am happy in the space I am. So let me give you some ideas. Where then do you start? I would want to appeal to you to really adopt a lifelong learning kind of mindset and developing your skills. There are thousands and tons of ways that you can be able to do this. I think Warren Buffett, one of the richest people on earth, said that the best investment you can ever have is to invest in yourself, because that is where you'll get the highest return on investment. There are so many options for you to invest in yourself, for you to continue learning. I would say we have online courses, free and paid courses. It doesn't matter. Identify, this is the skill. This is the area that I really want to develop. This is where I want to explore. Look for the free courses. Look for the paid up courses. There are so many online. I can talk about platforms like Teachable, Udemy, Upskill, or where people are actually putting the content out there for the courses about the experience. I've also created other courses that people just come in to learn. And please don't get me wrong here. I'm not asking you to go back to school. If you want to go back to school to do your diploma, your master's, it's okay. But that is not the only way. There are certain online courses you don't need to have a certificate, but still they help you. Like for me, I'm a student of YouTube and online courses. That is how I learned how to do the programming. I don't have a certificate for it, but give me a task within my space, I will still do it. Read books. Books are one of the greatest resources that you can have. People have put down their experiences and knowledge in these books. Read them. If you're not a good reader, go for the audiobooks. I'm glad a while back I was introduced to a book club, and I knew I'm not much of a reader of the physical books. But then one of the days when we were in that book club, the books that were shared, one was audiobook. I listened to the audiobook and I was like, wow, this is what I've been looking for. And I consume a lot of audiobooks. That is one of the best ways for me to read the books. Podcast in your specific field, in your specific niche, or the skills that you want to adopt. There are people who are sharing a lot. YouTube, I've already talked about. It's actually a free resource. Apart from the cut videos and the lifestyle videos, hi, look at me. I mean, I don't know where. There's a lot of education that you can be able to tap and follow specific creators and all that. Don't forget to network. I think Dorcas has mentioned, even in this space, network. Look for opportunities for you to network with people who have been in that space. The quickest way to get some of these skills is actually asking questions from people who have been in that part before. Attend seminars, workshops, a presentation like this. You might get some nuggets, some of the insights that will just help you get to the next level. And as I finish, I want to give a special gift for all of you guys who decided to come. And part of the job that I do is help people with your CV writing and writing a professional CV. I'm going to give you an opportunity to get a free CV review where we'll just take a look at it and then give you some guidance on how you can make it more professional. Please note that address, that is careerpoint.co.ke/CV review, or you can even drop me an email. And I'm sure later on, probably our contacts will be shared. That is daniel@careerpoint.co.ke. Allow me to stop there, and I will be welcoming any questions that will be coming in. Dorcas, over to you.
Wow, Daniel, when you started saying exactly what you have studied in combination with what you're doing, it just made me get baffled, because I'm like, wow, I thought I knew Daniel and he's an actor. And that took me about, because I was like, oh gosh, I'm just seeing you at the theater place, just taking time. And I think when you have such great, unique skills, it also helps you balance. And one thing that is amazing, and I must say, and I love the fact that you're giving our audience the opportunity to have their resumes reviewed, is the fact that we always tend to forget the things that hinder us are the simple things, like our documentation, and in regards to finding the right niche that would connect to our skill. So one question before we just get to the next speaker. Daniel,
yes,
make us understand and know, and this is just off my head with everything you've said, how can someone align all the skills they have when they're applying? Considering you're an actor, you are a self-taught software developer, you're able to do web development. Do we cramp and throw everything there into our CV, or do we figure it out in a different way? Because one thing that is always very critical that people tend to ask is, how do I ensure I connect to the right thing? Okay, so help me answer that.
I would highly discourage you throwing everything on your CV. And just to showcase, you knew me from the side of the leadership career coach. And because that is what I deliberately want to push out there, probably through our website, by social media platforms and all that, because I think that is what I want to push, When you're applying for a job, there is a specific role they are looking for, and you have certain skills that actually makes you the best candidate for that job. That is what you should focus on in your application. Sometimes when you bring all the other things, they bring confusion. And remember, when you're doing your application, you're doing it on paper. And the moment someone gets lost reading your application, they're like, oh, this is a junk of all trades. Then you lose that opportunity. When you have to bring all these other things, it is when they are adding value to your application to that specific job. This is a different context where I can explain all the other things that I do, because that's the purpose for me sharing all that, is to show there are still other unconventional ways that you can pursue your career. And that is the purpose. If I was coming probably to talk about job application, I'll talk about me being the career coach, and this is what I have done. I'll say this. you are the captain of your own ship. You control the narrative. You share what you want people to know about you, and then they will make a judgment based on what you have shared to them. Not everything will add value. If I was in another setup, let me give you an example. I am a junk of so many trades, but depending with the environment that I'm in, I'm also a rider. I do have a motorbike, we have group rides, and probably someone in that group just knows me as a fellow biker. I don't go there brushing over, do you know I'm a leadership coach? Do you know I also program? It is not right for that context. So you direct their own narrative, depending on what message you want to pass across.
Okay. I like that. Direct your own narrative according to the question you want to pose, and also who you want to connect with, because it's true, you can get off completely when you just start throwing each and every card you have, yet it might not be of any use. Great. So I've shared your contact. Somebody was asking, and even as we shift to the next speaker and we'll get into a Q&A where we're able to just dive into so much, the one thing I'll tell you all to do, and I've put it on the chat, is to connect with Daniel. You will not regret it at all. Okay. So for me, I have learned a lot from him. And actually, the interesting thing is, over the time, you'll discover everything that he's telling you about, all the content that he's created, it is very relevant almost at any given time. Because if you're looking for work, you're able to know how to ace the interview. If you're looking on getting into a different industry, he's able to guide you through. So I'd highly encourage you to just see how you can get into that. So we're getting to our next speaker, and it's Nancy. Nancy Cairo, as I said, she is a transitional coach, and she'll be walking us through really great nuggets. I would highly encourage you to listen in and figure out how to connect with these coaches. Now, remember, they don't come free. This is a free event. So it means off this chat, you're going to be hearing of some figures over there. So I always say, ask your way, find out how you can get the support, so that when you get off the camera and off this Zoom call, you will leave with something that is going to be of great help to you, but most importantly, that you are able to utilize in your career path. Nancy, before we start, I need to go back because I remember there's something you shared on, and I was really just shocked and perturbed. When you decided to resign your work at 44, and then remember I told you I'm not yet 44, I'm trying to pull that muscle where I just say I'm going to resign and walk away from this. What was in your mind? And I know you'll tell us your story, but what was in your mind at that point when you were thinking of, this is not what I want, and I would like to focus on this goal? Just kick us off from there.
Sure. Again, thank you so much, Dorcas, for this invitation. Yeah, when I was 44, I was feeling very restless, to tell you the truth. I was feeling a bit depressed and confused because I'd just lost 2 jobs in the span of 3.5 years. And I'd just gone through a divorce after being married for about 2.5 years. So I was really questioning all my decisions and trying to figure out, my future and the future of my daughter, who at the time was 3. So one thing led to another. I eventually decided to pursue a master's degree in economic development because where I was working, as you mentioned, I've been in the communications arena and public relations for many years. And at that time, I had just, after losing 2 jobs, I was able to find another job. But the job that I found was paying me a lot less than I had become used to. And it was also a little bit redundant because it was things that I had already done in my youth. And I really felt like I was going backwards instead of forwards in my career. But when I looked around in this new organization where I was working, a few people who I had found there started to leave. And when I asked, oh, where's so-and-so, where's so-and-so? They told me, oh, they went to study to do their master's or their PhD or something like that. And I had never, ever once thought about going back to school because I was really not very academically inclined. When I was going through high school, especially primary school, high school, university, I was a little bit better. But once I finished university and once I finished my BA degree in communications, I said, never again. I would never do that again. But at the age of 44, all of a sudden, I found myself thinking, well, maybe this is something that I need to consider. And so that's what I did, so that I could radically change the trajectory of my life. But it also happened because of where I was working at the time. I was being introduced to very new concepts. I was being introduced to new people who were working in the development arena. And I had always worked in the private sector, in tourism, in media. And I had never once thought about moving into the development or, what humanitarian space. But that really ignited some curiosity in me, and some of the work I was doing at the time leaned towards what you would call more development type work. So all of a sudden I found myself in a place where, one, I wanted to move from private sector to public sector. I realized that. Two, I wanted to go back to school so that I could really change the trajectory of my career. And three, I knew that I wanted a little bit more purpose to what I was doing, not just about making money.
I love that. Okay, so we can delve into this now.
Yeah, okay. So transitioning from that career in the private sector as a communications professional to the nonprofit development world at the age, because by the time I finished my master's, I was probably around 47, 48. So transitioning was definitely scary, but also very, very transformative. The journey enriched my life in many different ways, ways that I could never have even imagined before it actually happened, because it actually changed my perspective on many different subjects. And here I've listed, 4 of the shifts that I felt, the major shifts. The one was a shift in priorities. The focus moved from profit-driven goals to social impact and community welfare. It broadened my perspective to encompass the needs and challenges of marginalized communities across the world. 2, it really heightened empathy and compassion, engaging directly with disadvantaged communities and witnessing their struggles and resilience fostered a heightened sense of empathy and compassion in me. This firsthand exposure to diverse lived experiences led to a more nuanced understanding of human struggles and a stronger commitment to advocating for social justice and equality. Then 3, re-evaluating of, my definition of success. Transitioning to the nonprofit world really prompted me to, look at success in a different way. While the private sector often measures success in terms of, financial gains and career advancement, everybody's trying to get that corner office, on the 10th floor. The nonprofit sector is very different. They emphasize positive change and the well-being of individuals and communities. So that whole shift, that transition really made me start thinking about, so what is my own definition of success? Not somebody else's, but what is my definition of success? And then number 4, really starting to have a posture of continuous learning. So you can imagine you've moved from, corporate world where I'd been working for at least 20 years. And then now you're in nonprofit world, development type humanitarian work. It really humbled me. Embracing any transition requires a posture of continuous learning. Even though I had many transferable skills that I had gained from my years in the corporate world, the transition still required that I adapt because I was entering a new industry and I had to be open to learning. I was no longer in my comfort zone. And so embracing the role of a rookie, once again, really cultivates humility in somebody. If you're thinking of transitioning to a new industry, I would tell you, please be ready to commit to perpetual learning and questioning. Don't be shy to question. Ask colleagues, okay, what do you do in such and such a situation? I find that a lot of us are very scared of admitting that we don't know something. And yet there's no individual in this world who can say that they know everything. So definitely my experience in the corporate world had equipped me with a unique set of skills that were perfectly aligned with the challenges of the nonprofit sector, the ability to communicate effectively, build relationships, and strategize for success. Those still remained just as relevant, only now they were directed towards empowering communities and creating lasting social impact. While the nonprofit sector was totally different from the for-profit world, I did find that the rewards far outweighed any obstacles. That was my own personal opinion because I felt fulfilled and satisfied. Of course, not everybody would feel that way, but it really helped me clarify what's important to me. So working alongside passionate individuals from every corner of the world, that's the one thing that the development arena really allows you to work with people from all over the world who share, my commitment to making a difference, really brought a profound sense of fulfillment and camaraderie to my work. Since transitioning from the corporate world, I've worked as a consultant for organizations like the World Bank, Organization for Africa First Ladies Against HIV and AIDS, NEPAD, which is the new Partnership for Africa's Development, and even World Vision USA, where I worked for about 5-6 years in their Washington state office. So my time in the nonprofit world, working on community economic development projects, allowed me to visit over 25 different countries and meet people from every single demographic you can think of. Next slide, please. So throughout my career, I had many pivotal moments that significantly impacted the way I implemented my work. But I think the biggest lesson I ever learned was that the people we were trying to help almost always had great suggestions and solutions for the challenges they faced. Listening to marginalized communities is paramount, as these communities possess invaluable insights and lived experiences that uniquely qualify them to identify the most pressing needs and effective solutions within their own context. So recognizing that aid workers, I was an aid worker for many years, when we're not the ones who have the sole answers to people's problems. Rather, we are collaborators in a shared journey. That realization really helped me to start developing programs that were specifically designed to empower communities to voice their aspirations and concerns. By amplifying their voices, the voices of those directly affected by challenges, we honor their agency, we dignify their narratives, and ultimately pave the way for more sustainable, locally driven transformation that respects the inherent wisdom and resilience of every community. Next slide, please. Having navigated through both the corporate and development sectors over the years, my journey has been a mosaic of challenges and triumphs that have shaped my perspective in profound ways. The transition from the corporate realm to consulting for organizations like World Vision or World Bank or OFLA brought its share of hurdles, for sure. For example, navigating complex bureaucratic landscapes. So you might think, I want to transition from, a corporate job to NGO or one UN, some of those larger development agencies. And you'll find that there are challenges there too, just like there are in the private sector. So developing a comprehensive understanding of organizational hierarchies and protocols and decision-making processes, those are all essential things. Building relationships with key stakeholders, seeking mentorship from colleagues who have experience in navigating the bureaucracy, and employing effective communication to clearly convey ideas can help streamline processes and overcome bureaucratic obstacles. Number two, understanding the intricacies of policy implementation. Embracing a culturally sensitive approach is crucial. It's really, really crucial. Engaging in thorough research and engaging local experts can provide insight into cultural nuances that impact policy implementation. Establishing strong communication channels with local communities and adapting policies to fit their needs can ensure effective implementation and garner community support. So what I'm trying to show here is that my skills that I had gained in the corporate world around communication, mass communication, and PR I was still able to apply them in this other world. Three, bridging diverse viewpoints and cultures, because when you're working in development or the humanitarian sector, you're always serving people from diverse cultural, diverse cultures, diverse backgrounds, different religions, and people are people all over the world. But you have to come with that viewpoint. Active listening is paramount in bridging diverse viewpoints and cultures. Creating spaces for open dialogue where individuals from different backgrounds can share their perspectives actually promotes understanding. And four, dealing with limited resources and funding constraints. Now, that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about. If you were to transition from the corporate world to from the for-profit world to the non-profit world, there's a lot of stress and focus on where does the funding come from. You're always in a continuous cycle of looking for more funding. Addressing resistance to change and traditional mindsets. You can imagine some of the communities that I have worked with who are very remote communities. Their mindset is so traditional that sometimes change is very hard for them. But these are things, these are all challenges that I had to face when I transitioned. But what each of these challenges presented to me was really, they were opportunities for growth and learning. It was those sorts of challenges that kindled my determination to bridge gaps and drive change. In fact, my role demanded a deep understanding of the intricacies of international cooperation. And it was in these moments that my well-honed communication skills became a linchpin. Leveraging my ability to synthesize, complex ideas into accessible narratives. I facilitated cross-cultural dialogue that fostered understanding and consensus building among stakeholders. My experience taught me that while the challenges may differ between the corporate and development sectors, the power of effective communication remains a constant thread that knits together success irrespective of the context. Next slide, please. So today, after many years of navigating the intricate landscape of both the corporate and development worlds, I find a remarkable synergy between my accumulated experiences in my new role as an executive transition coach. This path allows me to distill the lessons I've learned, the challenges I've overcome, and the successes I've celebrated into a transformative journey for individuals who seek to transition and thrive in leadership roles. Guiding emerging leaders through their own evolution, drawing on my dual expertise. It's not only my profession, but it's actually my calling, a meaningful bridge that connects my passion for communication, cultural understanding, and fostering growth with the fulfillment of witnessing others, them realizing their full potential. As a transition coach, I work with people going through major transitions, such as changes in career paths, or starting a family, or recovering from a divorce, or retirement, or even relocation. Because I've gone through each of those transitions myself. I've actually relocated and worked in the US. I've relocated there twice in my life. No, 3 times in my life. In total, I've probably started over in my life from scratch at least 7 times. The last time I counted, it was 7 times. So those kinds of transitions I've gone through myself. And that's why I really am committed to helping others navigate large, very sometimes scary transitions in their lives. Last slide, please. So in conclusion, I'd like to encourage anyone in the audience who's thinking about a career transition to be bold. And remember that age should never be a barrier to pursuing one's passion or dreams. I just turned 66 this month, and I'm excited about this new chapter of my life as an executive transition coach. If I can do it, you can do it. I think on that note, I'll stop and hand the floor back to Dorcas.
Thank you. I just like how you have made it sound so simple.
Nothing is
to
simple.
Transition, it's like, it's here, but it's amazing. I like the fact that you talked about the way that transitioning to nonprofit actually changed you as an individual, because I think we forget that when we get into certain spaces in our own profession, they affect our personal lives. And we forget we may not be able to get into certain spaces because you're like, who, me, I don't do such things. And because your personality is not relating to what is required to be delivered, then the disconnect comes in, and therefore you keep trying to get in, and you realize there's a shift that as an individual you need to do so that even the industry is able to embrace you. So, I mean, that's really amazing, completely amazing. And I know a lot of people always aim to get into the NGO space. It's just people don't know about, again, how do you transfer the skills? And I like the fact that you are coming from PR, and people would always assume that you need to tap into different spaces where you have to volunteer, and then you'll be seen that you've actually gained experience, and therefore then the industry, or basically a non-profit organization, will be able to see, okay, this seems to be the person we're looking for, because they're volunteered. And that's the mindset that tends to be out there. The fact that you're placed out, we can be able to look at our own skills that we already have and just find a way of knowing how they can be of use to the other organization and transferring them. I think that becomes a niche where people forget completely, and that's just amazing. For anyone who wants Nancy's contacts, I've put. We will be getting into a Q&A, and I'll tell you for sure, the most critical thing you want to find out is, how do you get a job at 66 years? How do you get a job after quitting and relocating to a new location? Those are the questions you need to start posing to Nancy, because there are those things that happen at the background that we need to figure out as individuals to come off our comfort zone. And I believe, Nancy, your nuggets are going to help someone. Really appreciate you having here. I would like us to move to our final speaker. And one amazing thing I like about how we're shifting from listening to Daniel and listening to Nancy and now listening to Alice is the fact that all of you have different skills, and just when we think we cannot utilize that skill, it just becomes our pivoting point into our next best self. And Alice, the question now posing to you, I know I've already asked you where you ran away from the money, and I know you said you'll tell us exactly how your question to you as you just kick off.
Yes.
What drove you into pharmaceutical? Because I know we are also just finishing a transition in Kenya where we have a lot of people who have just finished Form 4 and have been placed in different courses. Some they have intentionally selected, some they have not intentionally selected. So my question to you, for just any graduate from Form 4 who's listening, what do I do with this course? Because I might find myself in that position where my parents don't have the capability of getting an advisor, and therefore you're told this is the best thing you've gotten. And with the TVETs and everything, you will find we don't want to kill a course, and therefore we assign someone. So how did you find yourself in the course that you did in at school, and how did you transition into work? Was there any challenge, or was it smooth back then? Yes, welcome.
Thank you, Dorcas, and thank you for inviting me. I'm really, really encouraged. I've really learned a lot from Daniel and now from Nancy. And the encouraging thing about Nancy, I love your energy at your age. In fact, I said, wow, when you said your age, and I thought, I want to be like her. Now, to come back to your question, Dorcas, I studied at a time when there weren't very many options. We left school, we applied for courses in university. If you didn't get to university, by the way, then we had I think 1 or 2 universities, not as many as they are now. So the number of students getting to university was also very small. So for me, I didn't make the cut to university then. So I went to the mid-level colleges. And to be honest, I just applied for a course. I didn't even know what pharmacy really entailed, but to me, it sounded nice. It sounded better than nothing. So I applied for that. When they called me, I went straight. I didn't even know. I thought I will know what that entails when I was in college. And that was what was happening our time. So it's not that I really knew what pharmacy was, but when I got into college for 3 years, I actually didn't mind it. There was a lot of study, there was a lot of chemistry involved, but I did it. And the good thing is that we used to get jobs immediately. So I got my job, I started working in the government, and that's when I realized this is really not mine. I moved to the private sector because I thought, well, it's because the government, there isn't much even in the hospital, there isn't much options. The medicines that you're dispensing every day are just monotonous and routine. You can even do it with your eyes closed. And so I felt I needed a challenge. And so I moved to the private sector, worked for one of the major private hospitals here. But even then, I still felt, this is not what I want. I got excited the first few months, the first year, because there was a lot of variety, there was a lot to learn, and that really kind of excited me. So that's when I decided, wow, if there is something else that I can do, I will grab it very quickly. That is how I transitioned into the pharma industry, pharma marketing, pharmaceutical marketing. And for me, I was still utilizing my pharmacy. It's not that I put it aside. I was still utilizing it. But what I usually tell people, yes, it is possible you may find yourself in a course that you do not like or the course that you had not chosen. But I always say there's no skill that is actually useless. There's no skill that is usually useless. It's unfortunate that you may be in a place that you don't like, and if it's not aligned with who you are, you may not really get that satisfaction. So one of the things that I try to encourage young people is to try and discover yourself early enough. I didn't have that during our time, our days, and that's one of the things that gives me the passion and the motivation to actually help people to discover themselves early enough, so that if you're making your career choices at in high school, you make your career choices based on your knowledge of who you are. So if that is not possible, then as Nancy said, there is no problem in you transitioning. The advantage today is that there are a lot of opportunities. As Daniel said, there are online courses that you can take. Now there is no excuse. Even if you found yourself in a course that you didn't like, you honestly don't have to live there because that is the only thing you think you can do. There are options. So for me, that is what happened at Dorcas. I found myself in a course I really didn't even understand what it does, but I actually came to like the course later. It's only that I didn't like the bit about being in the community pharmacy. For me, that did not seem to work well. I needed to be out there, face challenges. I don't like monotony. I want my days to be like spontaneous. I don't want to have that routine that I know where I left my work yesterday and I pick it up today. That is not really me. I don't like that.
Yeah. I'll need to ask you a question. I'm asking because being in HR, this question tends to come when we discover somebody is disconnecting. You just said you don't like monotonous. Mm-hmm. Did you admittedly, I'm assuming you were young then, admitted it to someone and you are like, what am I doing wrong? Because this seems to be something I can do with my eyes closed. Because I feel everybody wants to be out there doing something great. But what is limiting us is accepting that where we are, we're so comfortable that we cannot amount to our best self, if it's lack of a better word. Did you get assistance that time when you were saying, you know what, this is not for me, let me just pull it off, let me do something? What happened? And as you continue with your presentation.
Yes, I will share the presentation because I've edited something. No, really, no. During those days, there wasn't really much option. There wasn't even what we are now calling mentoring, coaching. They weren't available. So for me, it took me feeling this is actually not what I want. And I got into trouble even with my own parents. When I moved from the public sector to the private sector, they thought, well, you must be lost. Because those are the days when people used to have jobs that were permanent and pensionable. So how can you be moving to a private sector where things are not as certain, you're not sure whether you will sustain that job? So those are the challenges that I had to deal with. But for me, because I really knew this is not what I want to do, I decided to close my ears and just focus and follow my heart. And I have not regretted since then. Great. Can you allow me to now share my screen?
For sure.
Yeah, great. Great. Where is this? Mm-hmm. You can see it?
Yes, you can see it.
You can see it now well. I know you told me to share a bit about balance and well-being. And one of the things that I will do, I will also share my story so that you can get to understand and try to bring it in with this topic. Now, as you have rightly said, Dorcas, during our days, we really didn't have much advice. Today, our parents, the parents of today, they probably are informed. Our parents just paid us school fees. If you're lucky to have a father or a mother who is a bit exposed, they would guide you a little here and there. But for us, it was going to school. If you're admitted to college, that's it. Actually, you're on your own after that. So for me, I kind of stumbled into pharmacy, as I have said. It's not that that is what I had wanted to be. And just to prove to you how bad that was, I went to A-levels. When I was in A-levels, our career and guidance teacher had hoped that I could do physics instead of biology. And I told him, no, I don't want to do physics. Then he asked me, what do you want to do in life? And because my brother had done agricultural engineering, I told him, I think I want to do agricultural engineering. And then he told me, if you want to do engineering, then you need physics. I said, oh, okay. Then I don't want to be an engineer. That's how bad it was. I actually didn't know what I was doing. And trust me, I had left O-levels. I was now in A-level. And that's how I ended up now pursuing biology instead of physics. Then I thought maybe I can get into the medical field. Maybe I can do medicine, but I wasn't quite sure that is something that I want to do because nobody had really told us this is a career path that you can follow. So we were kind of just stumbling over those courses that we were seeing and choosing, and the options then were not very, very many. Then I heard about a course called Range Management. I honestly don't even know what they did then. And I thought it sounds nice to be a range manager. In fact, when I tell my husband that, he laughs at me and says, he tries to visualize me in a range somewhere in a forest, and he cannot actually visualize that. So I told, that's how bad it was for us then, that you're just choosing something because maybe it sounds nice or you know someone who has done it, but not really because you know what you want to do. Anyway, I went to college and I finished my course 3 years, and I graduated and I started working. And then I realized, hey, this is not as glossy as I thought. It's not as beautiful for me from where I stand, because I want something that will give me exposure. I want to go out there. I want to go and meet new people, because that is who I am. And that is how I started looking for a way to get out of the hospital, because to me, the hospital was very confining. I have to come in at 8. I have to say when I am going for lunch and come back. You know, that for me was not really working. So when I got a job to work as a medical representative, I remember quite a lot of people asking, are you for real? How can you go to work? You know, it's a career that very many people didn't think highly of. But for me, I was extremely excited. And I'm forever grateful for a friend of mine who actually told me, you know what, Alice, if you want to have any impact, toka hapa. You know, leave this. You will not get anywhere when you sit in this, because in the hospital, there are those hierarchies. You can only go up to this far. There isn't much you can do. You only do what is supposed to be done. You can't even think outside the box, because these are things that are really quite streamlined. And as I thought about it, it really made a lot of sense to me. And that's how I ended up moving. Now, working in that pharmaceutical industry as a medical representative, it was about marketing, more or less marketing and sales, and meeting new people. And that for me was extremely exciting. And now that we are talking about transitions, one of the things that I would tell you, if you're thinking about transitions, as Nancy has said, be prepared to learn, because every new transition you make will demand new things. It will demand that you have probably a new set of skills. For me, when I joined now the selling industry, there wasn't much demand of marketing or sales experience. The only thing you needed was maybe you had a pharmacy course, or you had a nursing course certification, or you had a science background, because we are in a field that is science-based. But for me, when I started working, I thought, I think if I did marketing, because what we are doing is marketing, it will help me. And so I went back to school and I studied marketing. So I am actually a professional marketer. It wasn't needed, but it helped me. And I felt it put me at an advantage more than my friends. And as I started working, I realized that, wow, people are very different. You meet someone today, they're happy with you. Tomorrow you meet them, they don't want to see you. And that really kind of bothered me. How is this? What kind of behavior is this? And that challenged me to go back to school. I wanted to go back and do a course that I will do at minimum time. And so I thought maybe I can do a BCom marketing because I already have marketing. I went to a few colleges. By that time, universities had opened up. You could go back to school in the evening. And that is what I was looking for, to do a degree to just boost myself. But when I went to the universities I got one, and they told me, yes, because you have this marketing, you can actually get a lot of exemptions and it probably will take a shorter time. But immediately I left that place, I felt convicted. That is actually not what I want to do. I already have marketing. I don't think this will add more value to me. And because I had been wondering about people's behavior, psychology had been nagging me at some point, because I am a reader. I read a lot. And I had actually come to see, oh, when I was doing marketing, we talked about something called consumer behavior, consumer psychology. And so for me, that was kind of appealing. And that's how I ended up going to do a course in psychology. Then I was going so that I can understand how people behave, my customers and the people that I live with. But when I started doing psychology, I realized that it helped me more understand myself. And one of the things that made me feel very vindicated is when I understood my personality, I understood the reason why I felt I could not survive in that job that closes me from 8 to 5, because my personality is completely out. I am an outdoor person, I am a people person, and so confining me was not really in line with who I am. So that is one great thing that happened to me when I took that course. So psychology for me helped me understand myself better, understand why I make the choices I make, and it also helped me to understand other people. So everything that I have done for me was very well calculated. It was not just going back to school for the sake of going back to school. And so after I finished my bachelor's degree, that was the craze when people were going for MBAs. Everybody was going for MBA. But by that time, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I didn't want to be employed for a very long time. So I didn't think an MBA for me was going to serve the purpose that I was looking at and thinking about. And I will share a little bit about that later. So I decided to go back to school to study leadership, because leadership to me is something that I had always found myself being drawn to. Having got into leadership at the tender age of 9 years in primary school, in high school, I found myself being a prefect, a dorm prefect at the age of 14. And ever since, I have always been in leadership. Out of work or in the community, I have always found myself being called to leadership. So I thought leadership would help me, and that's how I went back to do a master's in leadership. So one of the things I would urge you is to be very clear about who you are. And for me, being a psychology person, that is one thing I try to help people do. If you can understand yourself early enough, it will help you solve a lot of problems. And as Nancy has said, it's never too late to either go back to school or to do what you want to do. That will help you instead of living and working, doing something that you don't like. In my work life now as a coach, I meet people, and a lot of times I get very sad. In fact, it really saddens me when I meet someone who is stuck in a job. They feel like they cannot move because they are stuck there. They're in an organization that they are not happy with. But because of this thing of I am working, I have to feed for my family, I can't move, I feel very sad. There are a lot of options. I tell people there are a lot of possibilities out there if we keep our minds open. So the thing is, know yourself, understand who you are so that you're able to connect with your true north. Now, coming to the topic of the day, balance and well-being, this is something that is quite common to us today. You will find that a lot of people are talking about work-life balance. And one of the reasons I keep asking myself, what is this? This is like a new phrase, and especially for young women who are doing well in their career, one of the things they will come to you with is, I want work-life balance. And I want us to look at it today from a different perspective, because if we just think about work and life, we will still not be balanced. Okay? When you come to any of my classes, one of the things you will learn is that you are a whole person. You are the same person who is working. You're a mother. If you have a child, you're a wife if you're married. You're a sibling. You are a friend. I mean, you are everything. You are the same person. So you need to look at your life from a holistic point of view so that you're not working so hard on one area or two areas of your life and the rest will be forgotten. And one of the things I tell my students or my clients is, which areas are you working on? And many times, many people never go beyond 3. They work on their career. They probably work on their finances because everybody wants a good life. And maybe they think about their family. And that's it. But is that it? Is that it? Is that all that life is? No. When you understand that life is whole, then you will look at every area of your life. Now, let's first ask ourselves, what do we mean when we talk about work-life balance? We are saying that it is the ability to meet work and family commitments. And this is actually quite also limiting. It's not it. There are other areas, other aspects, other categories of your life that you need to be thinking about. It means that you have to know not just about work, focus so much on your career. And we have seen those cases of people who focus so much on their career and they forget their health. Health is a category that you can never ignore. There are others who work so hard on their career, or they work so hard to make the money and they forgot their family, which is another big, big, big mistake. So there are few categories that I would want to bring to you that you can think of. For me, I give people 8 categories that you have to think about so that you're not just thinking about my career, and probably family. There are other areas too that you need to come to a balance. So number 1, think about your spiritual. And the reason why spiritual is important, irrespective of what you believe in, is that we need to be connected to a higher being. For us who believe in God, the creator, you need to get that balance. When you have God as your creator and your focus, then your spiritual aspect is okay. Believe me, that acts as a good balance for the other areas of your life. The second area that you need to pay close attention to is family. And when I talk about family, we are talking about the family. If you have a family of your own, like me, who is married, that is family that you think about. But every one of us also comes from a family. You need to think about that family, the relationships that you want in that family. What kind of a family do I want to bring up? If you're not married, when do I want to start a family? Those are decisions and conversations that you need to be having. Because what we are seeing today is people, and especially young girls, who want to really focus on their career, climb the career ladder, and then they forget about family. By the time they are coming to think, oh, I need to start a family, they think that they are late, and so they are panicking, and they end up making wrong decisions. So my advice to you, start thinking about that family. Do I want to start a family at 30? For us, we were starting our families when we were very young. I may not recommend that, but it is for you to decide at what age do you want to make a family. That helps you have that at the back of your mind, that whatever you're doing, you're also thinking that I want to start a family at some point in my life and at this time, so that you are also intentional. Your life needs to be intentional, not just letting life pass by and find you. So we have talked about the spiritual angle, then we've talked about family. Then you think about your career, because that is important. Many people just are happy to get a job, but when you ask them, how do you have a plan for your career? Sometimes they feel those transitions that Nancy is talking about, there is things that you can actually look at. For me, when I decided to transition from the hospital or community pharmacy to this, and started working as a salesperson, and I will share my story shortly, I decided to do a plan for my life so that I don't want to be caught unawares. And I'll come back to that. So the other category, the first one is the spiritual, family, career. Then you think about finances, because finances are important. It is important for you to ask, how much money would I want? Where would I want to live? Where will that money come from? So that you're thinking about your investment, short-term and long-term. The other area you need to think about is your relationships or social networks. Relationships, stroke network, social networks, you can actually look at it. Your friends, who are you surrounding yourself with? Because we say your networks are your network. Are you deliberately looking for networks that are going to boost you? That's something that you need to think about. The other area is personal development. Are you looking at personal development? Sadly, as I work as a personal development coach, a lot of people don't even have a plan for your life, for their life, and it's not a good thing. So it is important for you to start planning. Where do I want to be? Where do I want to see myself in 5 years' time? In 10 years' time? How am I going to get there? If I'm thinking about transitioning in a career, what skills do I need? Am I prepared? Do I have what is necessary? So asking yourself these questions is very critical. The other area is, and then it's an area that many times we tend to ignore, is the area of recreation. Recreation, your fun time. How do you recreate? Do you even think about holidays? Do you think about taking vacations? Because many times we just think about vacations and we are wishing that we could be able to visit such and such a nation or such and such a place, but we may not even be planning about it. But when you intentionally plan, then you can begin to ask yourself those many questions. What will I need to get me there? The other one, and I think this is the 8th one, is physical environment. And the physical environment is very important. The area where you live. We are actually, we are influenced even by the environment where we live in. Is it a conducive environment for ourselves? Is it clean? I remember when I talked about this to one of my clients, she told me, hey, it's like you have actually seen me. I need to go and declutter my room because I am actually cluttered. I say, sometimes when you find yourself in a very cluttered place, you can be sure even your mind could be cluttered. And when your mind is cluttered, trust me, you cannot really get much. Our mind does not like clutter. Our mind is repelled by clutter. It is drawn to clarity. So you need to be clear. And that is one thing that is important for you to know. You need to be clear. When Nancy talked about pursuing one goal, it is important for you to be that crystal clear. Your mind actually helps to get to where you want to go. So work-life balance, as you have seen, is not just about work and family. There is a lot more. Are you going to have equal time for every one of those categories? Absolutely no. But the important thing is that you're thinking about them, you're not ignoring them. You will find that in a particular season, your family now becomes the key thing that you're focusing on, not ignoring the others. At another season, it's probably your career, it's finances. So they'll keep changing depending on the season where you are. But the important thing is that you're not ignoring any one of them. Great. You also have to think about those other activities. That is how this comes up. So think about every one of those categories that I've talked about. I'm sure you've heard about the wheel of life. That is actually what is the wheel of life. And one of the activities that I want to give you, go and look at yourself, rate yourself, and be honest in each one of those categories on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the best where you would want to be. Be honest with yourself and rate yourself. And then try to put it in a circle and try to join it and see whether it has spikes or is it a smooth circle so that your wheel can move well. If you find that you have spikes, go back and ask yourself, how do I move from this low skill that I have in this particular category to another area so that you are able to kind of have a balanced life? Great. One of the things that you need to know as a person who is looking at maybe building your career, you need to ask yourself, what kind of a worker am I? Just recently, and I don't know how many of you saw that article, there was a study that was done by Gallup, and that study said that 83%, and this was actually Kenyan, 83% of Kenyan workers are actually disengaged at work, which means only 17% are actually actively engaged. So it's important for you to ask yourself, what kind of a worker am I? There is that person who is an overachiever. An overachiever will do everything. Those are the kind of people who we call workaholics. And unfortunately, that is also a person who is likely to get very stressed up very quickly because they are perfectionists. They want things to run very well. They want things to be done their way. And by being an overachiever, sometimes you become stressed because you're working with other people who are not as overachievers as you, and that tends to put a lot of pressure on you. It's good to know what kind of a person you are. Are you a perfectionist? Someone who wants to see things perfect? And I keep telling people, yes, it is good to seek for perfectionist, but we may never achieve it when you're on this side of the earth. Instead, I tell people, try to seek for excellence, because you can actually achieve excellence. Perfectionists, again, they are people who want to do things perfectly. Unfortunately, they also tend to have a lot of stress when things don't go the way they want them to go. The other person is compulsive. Are you this kind of a person who is just there? You just do things, unless you're compelled by people to do it, you may not do it. It is for you to know where you fall. Is there any that is better than another? Absolutely, maybe no, because we are all wired differently. It's for you to know what are the pros and the cons for every one of them. Because at the end of the day, you want also to be a kind of a balanced person. Overachievers tend to think that everybody is like them. They are the kind of people who will carry work and think about work everywhere they go. Perfectionists are like that. You walk into a place and it's not the way you think, it gives you stress immediately. Compulsive, those are the ones that ifanyike is ifanyike, but it's not really a good thing. You need to do your best at wherever you are. One of the things that I keep saying when we're talking about work-life balance, do not ignore the moment, because you can't be at work and home at the same time because you're trying to balance life and family. No, when you're at work, give your best at work. When you go home, give your best at home to your children. Being 100% present wherever you are at that moment is what you need to aim for. Okay. Now, some indicators that you are balanced. This one, sometimes we have what we call perceived balance. And this is where a parent thinks I am actually present for my children. But when we ask the children, they think that mommy or daddy is always at work. I never see them, they don't give me time. But to you, as the person concerned, you're thinking that you're actually balanced. You're thinking you're at home. You could be at home, but you're not available to your children. And we know, especially now with the social media era, where everybody is on their phone, it can become very difficult for the children to feel your presence. So be present for your children. That way, then they will know that you're truly present for them. So be aware of that, which we call the perceived balance, where you as a person, you're perceiving yourself to be very well balanced. You're at home with your children, or when you're at work, you think that you're giving your all, but that is not what other people see. So be aware of that. For you as a parent, when you're there with your children, be there 100% for them. And again, the other thing, are you taking work home? There are people who cannot do without taking work home. And sometimes you may not even have the physical work with you home, but your thoughts, your mind are at work. You're thinking about work, and then you call someone even at weird hours because you still carried so much work in your head, maybe not physically. So are you carrying work home? That is also an indication of balance. Now, some of the consequences is of lack of balance. Remember, we are talking about balance, is lack of satisfaction. Sometimes as a parent, you may feel like you're not giving your best to your children or to your family because you may be spending too much time at work. And maybe even when you're home, you are still at work. Or even if you're not at work, what I have said, you still have work at home, your thoughts are at work. So that will definitely leave you feeling unsatisfied because you're not giving your best to everybody. And of course, the mental stress. And now we know that there's a lot of mental health talk going on, especially after COVID. We got to see a lot about our mental health issues. And this is something that is a concern today. As someone who worked in the medical field, I can tell you that this is actually a problem. We would find doctors, especially doctors who deal with ulcer issues, they would tell you, people who have been in the field for 30 years, they would tell you that all through their practice, they never saw ulcers in young people, let alone children, during their course of training, or hypertension in young people. But today, that is actually the order of the day. And this most of the time arises from work-related issues. So it's important for you to check whether you are overdoing it, or you're carrying too much work, or whatever stress is there. Try to have a bit of balance. A lot of people are working, no time for recreation, no time for vacations, and that has a toll on your health as well. So you need to think about that. Definitely, when you're stressed, your productivity will go down. Even for organizations, that is one of the things we keep telling them. If you put too much pressure on your people, one of the things that will suffer is actually productivity. So you cannot be very productive when you're stressed. So it's important to seek that balance. When it's lacking, when you're not sure, you have not spent a lot of time with your family, then you will not be very settled to be productive. Then you will find that there will be what we call problematic behavior. And this is not only seen at the workplace. You could be, because you're stressed, you could snap at your colleagues, but you can be sure if you're snapping at your colleagues, you're likely to snap at home. This is where you see people now starting to engage in behavior that is destructive. Maybe they get into alcohol or drug abuse because they're escaping something and they're not addressing that issue well. So that is a major problem. If it is affecting you at work, chances are it's going to affect you at work, and it's going to affect almost all the other relationships that you have. So be wary of that. There's the issue of irritability and anxiety. When you're not well mentally, when you're feeling like you're overstressed, trust me, you'll be very irritable. And irritable people are very difficult people to live with. Any little thing you do, you step on their toe a little, and they just blow up. And anxiety, and this is what I have talked about. We see it will probably present itself in depression, or you find a lot of people now taking work off. From work, they will be calling in sick because they are not feeling well. They are probably depressed, or they are probably nursing an ulcer or something like that. So there are a lot of consequences. This is just an indication of what can go wrong when you're not balanced. But there are definitely benefits of being balanced. And remember, we say balance doesn't mean that you're giving equal time in each one of those spheres, but not neglecting any one of those areas. When you feel that your body needs rest, please rest. Take that rest so that you recharge. We recharge when you're at the rest. You will find that your productivity goes up. If you're an organization, you will notice that there is improved staff morale. There is less stress. There are less conflicts, because remember, if people are irritable, there will be a lot of conflicts. There will probably be people calling in sick, or they don't come to work, a lot of absenteeism, where there is a lot of stress, or when people lack that balance. But where there is balance and people see that, and people feel they are able to take care of themselves, and they are looking at their life as a whole, and they're happy with it, there will be a lot of improved staff morale. Low absenteeism, I have said that. There will definitely be better health, whether physical or mental. Mental, many times we may not see it, or we may not pick it until it is a bit too late. Physical, yes, because someone will call in sick, or they will say, oh, I am not well, I'm not feeling well. But for the mental health, it will take a bit of time. So it is important for you as an individual to also know yourself, understand yourself, know your limits, and please speak out. Speak out, because sometimes we keep quiet because we fear. It's better you speak and seek help, because help is available. So some possible ways to improve balance. If it's at work, please set clear boundaries. Sometimes it's very difficult, and I get very shocked when I deal with people who are at work, maybe even at leadership positions, and they are stressed because they're not even able to say no to work that they have been given. More work, more work and more work. You keep saying yes and yes. But if you're not clear, it becomes very difficult for you to actually set those boundaries. But when you have clarity, what is it that I want? What do I want to achieve? Where am I going with my career? Then it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to set boundaries for yourself. It's possible if you can explore flexible working hours. I know COVID came and taught us that we can work from anywhere, but sadly we found that in some organizations, people took advantage of that. They were not working well, and so people were called back to the office. But where you can actually work, you have flexible working hours, that would work well for you. But if you're working from home, make sure that you actually honest, you're genuine, you're working, and you're putting in the hours that you're supposed to put in. That will help. If we can actually start exploring that, it will be good for us. And again, self-awareness, I have said that it's important for you to understand yourself. Know your limits. Sometimes we know our limits, but because of the fear, we have not set clear boundaries. We are afraid to speak. But it is always good for you to know yourself, know your limits, know who you are, know when you're not well, know where you want to go. That helps. Again, self-awareness, if you're looking at career transitioning, self-awareness becomes very, very, very important. I always tell people you can never improve what you do not know. It is important for you to know. And maybe just to give a very brief story about myself and how I came to where I am about personal growth. When I started working in the pharmaceutical industry as a marketer, as a medical rep, I grew in that company for 5 years, and I grew to the position of a sales manager. We were doing well in our team. We were bringing in the numbers. The team was good. In fact, my team members had been appreciated as being part of the best in fact, 2 of them were voted the best in the organization. Then one Monday morning, I'm going to work. I am going to work with one of our colleagues. It was early in the morning before 8. So I get to the office and I am here talking to my colleagues who were there earlier. And then our boss comes and says, Alice, can I see you in the office, in the boardroom? And I said, sure. And I followed him to the boardroom. And he ushered me in. I sat down. And as soon as he started talking, I knew where that discussion was headed. I cannot remember many things that he said, but 5 words have stuck with me to this day. He said, we don't need you anymore. And just like that, on a Monday morning, 8 in the morning, I lost my job. So I went home. When I came out of the boardroom, and people were like, oh, excited. Oh, how are you? Now my colleague had come, was waiting for me. I'm ready to go. I said, I don't have a job. And it was a shocker to everybody. I hadn't seen it coming. There was no warning, nothing. I went home and I sat home without a job for 4 months. And in those 4 months, I did a lot of self-reflection and introspection. Of course, it was nothing to do with our performance, because performance was not an issue, it hadn't been. And so I decided I'm not going to think about that. I decided to focus on myself. And that is how I realized that for the 5 years I was there, I was bringing in the numbers, working my head out. I had actually neglected myself. And that made me feel very bad, because I realized that my personal journey, my personal growth, my career is actually not dependent on the organization or my boss. I couldn't blame them. I had done nothing to better myself for 5 years. And that is how my journey for personal growth started. When I got a job 2 years later, I sat down and I did a 20-year plan for my life. 1, I did not want to ever be caught unawares again. I told myself I don't want someone to ever tell me, we don't need you anymore. Number 2, I realized that there is something I cannot control. I can't control whether someone fires me from their job, but I can control what I do with myself. And that is how I started embarking on a journey of personal growth. So that plan that I did, there were many things. It's not something I can share today. There are so many things that I had written. Some did not come to pass. They became obsolete. Others I was able to accomplish. But I can tell you that is part of the reason why I'm doing what I am doing today, because I had a plan. So I would urge you, if you don't have a plan for your career, please go and do a career plan. If you do not have a plan for your life, please go and do a plan for your life. Don't just be the kind of people who you allow life to be, who will just be swayed by things. Life comes, life happens. Be clear on what you want to achieve or to accomplish in your life. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. So there's a lot that we can do. That was very brief, Nikiojo. If you would want to work with me, my contacts are there. I'm sure we are going to have the contacts put up, but you can follow me up, Alice Gige on Facebook. Alisa Coaching is my company. You can follow me up there. LinkedIn, you will find me as Alice Gige. Thank you.
Most welcome, most welcome. I think how we've just navigated this is so amazing. And for everyone who's listening, you need to remember each speaker has emphasis on two things. Two things being, one, that you can transition in life, but also remember work can also change you as an individual. And if work can change you as an individual, it means taking care of yourself becomes the most critical thing, because that's where we lose it, or basically we disconnect with ourselves. So it's really critically connected, joining dots to what we have delivered. And the most important thing is making sure you're able to apply it. As Alice has said, and I'm sharing just right now her details, you're able to get on phone. I put details for her company, but I'd also shared with everyone the LinkedIn details. You'll be able to connect and follow up with the discussion even from there. Now, we are getting to our quick Q&A, and I know one of our speakers would have to be stepping into another meeting. I would urge anyone who has any questions to be able to just prep. We have a few questions we're going to put up for the speakers, and therefore would feel free to join in and just either raise up your hand or just put your questions on the chat. Remember, when we're talking about transition into a different space, the most critical thing we were looking at is the journey people have taken, but also understanding how you can navigate by looking at the different skills that you have. And I just don't want to waste any other time. Without any further ado, I would want to ask Nancy the first question. And Nancy, why I'm asking you this question is because, as I said, I have come across a number of people where they are thinking getting into either the nonprofit space is very hard, or even sometimes people come back and say, you know what, I think my time is up. I have reached 40 or reached 50, and I feel I'm getting stuck on it. And I'll just want to ask you, in your last role, just focusing on your last role, can you share some insights from your transition from a communications profession into the private sector? And I know you mentioned a little bit of it, but in your last role where you were a senior executive director, where you are focusing on programs on development in terms of handling communication with the stakeholders and engagement in the development space, how did your previous experience shape your current, or basically your last role? Because my biggest concern is when we are at our level of either 35 or 40, we always feel some of our previous experience may be irrelevant. So how were you able to cultivate by taking your previous experience, and how was it able to be of help in your last role and even in your current role as a coach?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to have to jump off right after this question, but I wanted to just take the opportunity to say thank you to everybody. As I mentioned in my presentation, my communication skills, mass communication, public relations skills, they were very transferable, because you find that in the nonprofit world, you're having to, stakeholder engagement is really, really crucial. The most recent role that I just resigned from, I actually secured that job at the age of 61. And I remember telling them, you know, I'm 61 years old, I hope you don't mind. and, being very frank and open at the beginning. And they told me, of course not, they don't, because for them, they're looking for certain skill sets, for certain commitment, loyalty, somebody who comes to the job with a lot of experience. That's what they're looking for. A lot of times, they're not so concerned about age, and especially when you go in as a consultant. And that position I had for the last 5 years. And I was the executive director for an organization called AVPA for their East Africa region. So I think our setback often is that we just feel that maybe we're not very qualified, and yet all the experience that I've had throughout my career qualifies me for a senior position, qualifies me to lead teams, qualifies me to engage at a higher level, because everything I've done throughout my career led up to this point. We forget that everything you've learned, it's an accumulation. You're accumulating and moving up and up and up. So you never come to a new role empty-handed. Even the first time you look for a job, even though I know, employers always say, well, what's your experience coming straight out of university? And I used to tell employers when I was looking for a job, my experience is all the years of education that I've had. So it's prepared me. So even in this my most recent role, it was all the years of experience that I'd had. And that's what you have to put in your CV. Just as Daniel was saying, you have to focus. Whenever I'm putting a CV together for a particular job, I try to almost mirror, my words have to mirror what they're looking for, yeah? And I have to show in an interview that the kind of person you say you're looking for, this is what I bring to the table. This is what qualifies me to be in this position. So I think a lot of times what hinders us is that we just feel that, well, maybe I'm not that qualified. Maybe I need another degree. Maybe I need another certification. And yet, if you have 20 plus years of work, that in itself is your qualification. You've achieved certain things to get to that point. You've been able to lead teams or, develop programs, etc. So that's what I would say. Anybody trying to transition, and it's not that the nonprofit world is so different. I mean, it's just human beings trying to do a job exactly as those in the for-profit world. So sometimes it's the way we look at things, and we just seem to already cut ourselves out of the running because we say, oh, well, I've never done that before. I once heard somebody say that there's no school for to prepare people to become a president. There's no school that you can go to called president, preparation school. So it's all the accumulated years of experience that prepares you for any new role. On that note, I will have to excuse myself. I'm jumping onto another call, but thank you so much, everybody. And I believe Dorcas has shared all my information. So thank you very much. God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. And really appreciate your time and effort, and also everything you've shared. We'll be able to apply. And I know people will be reaching out. Really appreciate you, Nancy. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Thank you. Bye. So as we have listened to Nancy, and she has emphasized that in terms of skills, we need to remember that all our professional experience accounts and is actually of use in any space. All you have to do is see the relevance of it and how it can be utilized, and therefore you'll be able to identify your transferable skills. So I want to ask Daniel a few questions. Well, 2 questions. I know you have coached and you've mentored different people, and considering the journey people are taking, sometimes we have to figure out how to either handle the graduates who are just thinking of transitioning into university or TVET courses. Your experience as a mentor, a coach, and a tutor showcase commitment to education and personal development. How do you believe your background in, and I know you mentioned this, in software development, electronics, as well as postgraduate studies in education have contributed to your coaching approach and your ability to connect with the profession from diverse fields? And the reason why I'm asking you this question, Daniel, is because we all tend to look for a mentor, we tend to look for a coach, but sometimes you get someone and you're not so sure on how the connecting dots are or how we relate with each other. In your journey, how has the fact that you have these diverse skills come in handy for you when you're handling your clients? And also, has that contributed to the results that they're looking for when they come to you?
Thank you very much for the question. I would say that I personally believe that no experience is a waste. The different career paths that we pick, sometimes we might feel as if, I don't know, I think I wasted my 2 years in this college or in this university or in this job. But I believe it is not a waste. And one of the things that has really helped me serve my clients better is that wide kind of wild career path, because I get some people who come and tell me, and I wish we can do this survey, you'll find that most people end up doing their first or second job, or the job that they are in has nothing related to what they studied. And they want to transition back probably to the course that they did because they were passionate about. I did my accounting, but I ended up in sales, and I've been doing sales for the last 2, 3, 5 years. I want to go back to the accounting. I did HR, but my first job was in maybe even that accounting or administration. How do I go back? And I tell them it is possible for you to go back to what you're passionate about, or you can still make a good experience based on what you have. I think one of the biggest fear is that, how can I apply for this finance job and all that is showing on my CV, the experience is that I've been a banker, I'm just a teller. I don't know, I haven't really practiced my finance, but I have a bachelor's of commerce finance option and some of that sort. And when I share with them my story, sometimes most of them, they don't know. I ask them, now you come to me, you know, I'm an expert, I'm going to help you, no doubt about that. Do you know my qualifications? And they're like, probably you did HR, probably you did this. And when I tell them, no, I haven't done that, they actually relate to me more. They feel like, oh, I think you understand the kind of struggle that I am going through. So I would say that has really helped me serve the people that I have worked with. It makes them relate, or they feel that I relate to them when they feel that confusion. But I think it is how you decide to look at any situation. With the help of a coach, you can be able to shift your perspective and see things in a different way. And when you change your mindset, when you change the pair of glasses that you look at as the same situation through, then you will have different response. And of course, the outcome will totally be different.
Thank you. I like the fact how you're saying, once somebody understands that you don't have a background in HR, they're able to connect, because ideally, the goal is that mindset where everybody just relates to every HR just being a coach, and limiting their mindset in thinking that at the end of the day, there are those who are able to support you, even if they're not in that space. The experience is what really matters, because they're able to understand what you lack or what becomes your hindrance to actually getting the role. And I think the most interesting thing would be, one, trying to understand that we always need a mentor in our different spaces. And sometimes, even as we go up the ladder and we become senior, or even in our age, you will need somebody who will require you to understand the new ways of doing things. For instance, we have the AI, so just understanding how to handle that becomes even more critical and more important. So next question, I'll ask Alice.
Maybe,
and Alice,
just wait.
Yes, Daniel.
Maybe allow me to add something.
Yes.
I also think the path that I took also in doing education, one of the key things that I actually took from there was the psychology and human psychology. And I think Alice alluded to that. And this, as I still use it in the classroom, but I also use the same to help me serve my clients and actually bring some of the things to their awareness just because of the psychology. So it might look as if it is far-fetched, as if it was a waste of time, as if it was there, but it adds up. And I think the wider, the more diverse kind of experiences that people have or different coaches will serve different clientele. And there's someone who will actually relate to me and my story, and I'll serve them. And someone will totally relate to Alice and their story, and Alice is able to serve them without feeling like I'm stealing clients from her or she's stealing clients from me. There's enough for everyone. Yeah. So actually build up your story and you will see that whatever you've done, it actually will elevate you to where you want to go. Yeah, I thought I would add that.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. It's true. The sea is so big, we cannot fully exhaust it. So, Alice, my question to you is, your commitment to empowering individuals to reach their full potential through coaching and development is commendable. And I like the fact how even you yourself transition and you had to ask yourself those difficult questions of, am I happy where I'm working? And also the transition where now you had lost your job and you had to find yourself. Can you elaborate on how you've leveraged on your psychology knowledge to motivate and inspire people to become their best version of themselves? How do you believe this approach contributes to their personal growth and overall success? Because sometimes what happens is the deniability to know we are great, even where we are as individuals, even in that sales job, whether you're earning a salary that has been there for the last 4 or 3 years, there are things that you have achieved as an individual. And the biggest concern, Alice, is I have seen a lot of people stagnating, and just as you're saying, stagnating and not even trying to improve themselves in any way. So how has psychology been a catalyst on this, to be able to share?
Thank you so much, Dorcas. And just to pick up from where Daniel has said, one of the things I learned about psychology, remember when I said I went back to do psychology, is because I wanted to understand people behavior. Because psychology is actually about just learning people behavior and how to modify that behavior. But I realized that it helped me more. How? By understanding who I am, so that I was able then to align myself and the choices that I make with who I am. So as a person who understands psychology, when I get someone who comes to me, one of the things I want to help them know is to understand who they are. So, and that is usually common for every one of my clients. I want them to understand themselves. Why? Because when you understand yourself, then you make informed choices. You're not going to be bothered by, Daniel is actually excelling so much, I think I need to do what Daniel is doing. Is that what I am aligned to? Is that how I am crafted? In fact, Dorcas, I was hoping that my book would be out. I have a second book, and that book talks about you are designed for success. And I say that your success and my success will be different because we are wired differently. So my psychology helps me to be able to help you understand how you are wired so that you are able now to make choices, whether it's career or whatever it is that you're doing, helps you to make those choices. And what you said is very true. There are people who come to me as a client and they are stuck. They are stuck in a career because that is what they train for. They think that I cannot move from here. Remember when I told you when I moved from just public sector to the private sector, it was war in my home because my dad thought, no, people work until they retire. I keep joking that I am not the kind of person who gets that long service award, because for me, I want to experiment. I want to feel more. So why are you feeling stuck? Is it that you're doing so well where you are and you're okay, you're thriving there, which is fine, because it is okay for me if I am thriving, if I am fulfilled, if I have found meaning in what I do, then I will do it till I die. But being stuck and you're not happy, then it means something is not okay. So when you come to me, I use that psychology understanding to help you know, maybe this is the reason why you are not feeling fulfilled. You may be pursuing something that is not aligned with who you are. Daniel said that he acts and he doesn't do it for money. He just loves doing it. There is another person who will wonder, how can you be doing that? How can you act? Why? Because that is not how you are wired. So allow people to be. So that knowledge of helping people understand who they are, for me, is actually the bottom line. And if all of us understood how we are wired and then align ourselves, it is good. Even when I coach leaders, I tell them, understand your team members, understand their strengths so that you're able to help them do what is aligned to what they love. Remember, and I will keep going back to that study, because 83% of people, I don't know what you feel as a HR professional. For me, I thought that was crazy. People who are just there waiting for the time to pass and leave. Why? Because maybe they're not connected with who they are, so they are just there to earn a salary. But when you have been able to connect with who you are, trust me, whether that organization is bad or not, you will be motivated to work, because there is an inner satisfaction for you than just that paycheck that you're getting at the end of the month. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. The ending part where, there's a paycheck to collect, but it's far much more than you yourself. Because I think for me, what I've discovered in the aspect of handling people is we disconnect because we are scared of moving from our shell, which is comfortable. I know that all I have to do is do 8 to 5 or whatever hours you do, but at the end, you're able to pay the rent. And then you become accustomed and you become comfortable thinking that is your actual life that is supposed to be. When taking up risks, yes, risks come with their own ways, there's pain and all. But the discovery I've also realized is by finding yourself, just as you were saying, finding your true north, somebody is able to understand that you're far much more greater than what people see you for. And even that one course that you have done can be the major part that helps you elevate. All you need to do is combine it with additional experience from other industries. So for me, actually just trying to discover a unique path is telling yourself, you need to move from your comfort zone. You cannot follow the same path. If all of us are teachers in our family, we cannot all continue in the same path, because that's where the disconnect needs to be done. And you align yourself and say, okay, fine, I'm a teacher, but can I also offer this online? Can I take up schools that are online? Because there are so many schools that are online and they're looking for teachers, but the mindset and perception is I need to be in class. So Alice, Daniel, I feel you guys have shared even more than expected, but also opening the floor for anyone who has any question. Feel free to unmute. We are here to listen to your questions. I know we have gone beyond time, but I feel the conversation was leading us to it, and actually timely, because the path for your career tends not to be the linear one where it is just what is expected. If you're looking for a unique path, it means then you have to put in the investment and the time. And I do hope each and every person who's listening, if you do have any question or any comment, feel free to share in the chat. But an amazing thing has happened. Alice is giving you a free discovery call. So I am just thinking how I'm going to call Alice, because if I combine what Daniel and Alice are doing, somebody should not say that their life is not going to change or their career is not going to change in 2023. If Daniel is going to review you and give you comments on what you're supposed to do in your resume, it means by the time you're doing the discovery call with Alice, you are so in sync in knowing where your path should be, that the questions that Alice gives you are going to trigger you. And remember, everything is coming back to you and not coming back to us. It will trigger you to change the path you are in to a different path. And the thing I would say, and this is from a HR perspective, the more unique your skills are, the easier it is to hire you. Sometimes you don't even have to go through all the interviews because we are looking for that it factor. And once we see it, and that is what we're looking for, it's a sure win. And sometimes somebody may think that's focus, but no. For the last few weeks, I have seen graduates come in, but it's in their uniqueness that has enabled them to get through to the final interview. As long as you're able to demonstrate, even if you don't have a certificate, as long as you're able to be confident and articulate in expressing your current skills, your previous experience is a combination of what somebody is looking for, it becomes the actual antidote for what they have. And right now, everyone is looking for people who have, I would say, peculiar skills. Software engineers are in need right now in Kenya. People are looking for marketers, and not the old-fashioned marketers. They're looking for people who know how to leverage on digital and analyze a client even before the client buys. All those things just don't come for free. They come from you investing in that skill and being able to transfer it at work. So I am sharing Alice's details. Please feel free to reach out to all the speakers. Again, we have a few minutes. I would like to give ourselves 3 more minutes before we close out. Alice, any parting shots as we wait for people to ask questions? What would be a parting shot, considering that we have it should be more than 500,000 students who have just finished Form 4 and are trying to be placed into this institute, and also those who have just graduated from the previous semesters? What would you tell them if they are listening? What would be their ideal path? Just a parting shot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dorcas. And I love that because I love actually working with youth. I have programs for high school students because, as I said in my initial opening remarks, I love helping people find their true north. So for me, I work a lot with the young people in high schools to just help them understand who they are so that even as they make their career choices, they will make career choices which are informed. However, having said that, I also know that a lot of times it's not just about them, it's about parents. And sometimes I have been in trouble with parents because I see parents pushing their children into a path that they do not actually feel comfortable, but because they have authority over them, they want to actually push the children to the career path of their choice as parents. And one of the things I would want to tell parents, that is not actually a healthy way. Understand your children, observe them, guide them, but don't push them to careers that they do not want. It just leads to frustration. That is why we are seeing a lot of people frustrated because they joined courses because their parents wanted them to do them, but that is not where their heart was. However, if you have finished, maybe like you have graduated from university and you did a course and maybe you felt that was not your course, as Daniel said, there is no wasted experience. That I believe very, very strongly. Get something to do. In fact, I tell them the first degree is just that, to put you on the market. You can pursue what you want. It doesn't mean because you did this, that is what you will die doing. Take what comes, utilize the skills, whatever experience or skills that you learned in university, because some of them are very transferable. Those that are not transferable, you can actually learn, you can acquire. Today, there is no limit to what we can learn. So that is what I would say. For those who are joining campus, if you're able to change, if probably you are not sure, you can always seek help. Today, there are a lot of mentors that are willing to help young people. There are coaches that can help you if you're able to actually do what you love. Even the Bible tells us, a man's gift will take them before kings. So let's follow what God has given us. Thank you. Once again, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Dorcas, and my fellow our panelists, Daniel and Nancy, and also the people who came. I am really, really humbled. It was also a lot of learning for me from the two presenters, and I am truly grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Really appreciate that. And I like the honesty and the authentic parting shot you have just shared. That's just true. That is the real life, and it might hurt us listening. I'm a parent. I know. I always keep telling my child, "Oh, you'll be that," and she tells me, "No, that is your dream." So it's good echoing that, because until you find yourself in that space, you never believe that. Yes. Daniel, our actor for the night. Please tell us a parting shot, because and why I'm saying actor is because we tend to obscure and ignore the art, which right now has grown very much in Kenya, and people are growing and making a career on it. What will be your parting shot in choosing a career path that is unconventional, that people don't perceive as if it's a career? What would you tell that person who's in that space and thinking, how will I tell my parents this is where I am finding my heart? Let me not even use the word passion, my heart and my ability to earn a good living, just not in an office.
Before I jump into the parting shots, and thank you for bringing the idea of, I'm an actor. One of the things I've learned that has made my YouTube channel even succeed more is because of my acting background. Because when I go on camera, it's like I'm on stage. So you can see how the skills just add up onto one another. My parting shot, research has it that most people, when they are on their deathbed, the biggest regret is the things that they wish they would have done rather than the things that they did. As you pursue your unconventional path, try out things. Break some few eggs. For you to make the omelet, you make to break some few eggs. If it works out, well and good. If it doesn't work, that was a learning experience. Go to the next thing. I think you will feel more fulfillment having said, I really did that, it didn't work, and I learned these 2-3 lessons, and now I'm at this. Rather than keep on saying, I will try this, I will try this, I'll try it. You will die of regret and really feeling unfulfilled. But try things out. If it works, well and good. If it doesn't, that is a stepping stone. I usually say, for you to be successful, actually the word success is success. You will fail, you will suck at some point, and then you will find your success on the other side. So let's do it. Thank you very much again, Dorcas, for inviting me. I'm happy also to meet the other presenters. I'll be looking forward also to collaborate with them. Alice, Nancy, I'll have you on my YouTube channel soon. I'll get in touch. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for me, and I like the fact that you have shown a skill that is being utilized in your everyday living, but is helping you enhance it and improve on it. Because I'll tell you for sure, I have had an opportunity to talk to people, but there's one thing that people always come out and say, I did this course, and just the same thing Alice was saying, and I don't know what to do with it. And sometimes we forget the power in what we have learned. And as I've always heard and I've read about it, as long as you're able to practice and put more than 10,000 hours in one skill or in that particular subject, you become a master. So right now, somebody might assume the courses that they have done are useless, but eventually the mastery comes into effect and you are able to cultivate and make a living out of it, or even transfer the skill by training other people. So to me and to everyone who has come in today, I just want to say a big thank you to our speakers. I've already shared their details, but I'll also go ahead and make sure I share the same on email. My request to each one of you who has attended is think about the person who would require this information in terms of where they're transitioning or which space they're in their career. Do not limit yourself to think that you cannot support them, but you can. by listening to people who have focused in crafting and supporting so many people. Please take the opportunity Daniel has put in to review your resume. And for your information, this is something Daniel has been doing for so long. So it's not you're trying it out. No. And another thing, I know there's always the fear factor of, this is something free. Will it really be of worth? No. Think about it. Out there, you may actually have to pay. You're being given this opportunity, and this comes sincerity from Daniel. Go for it. Put in your resume. At the end of the day, today is Friday. Daniel has the whole weekend to figure out how he's going to respond to all those people who's going to reach out to him. So it's not your problem. It's an opportunity that has been put for you. So grab it and utilize it and make sure you go for it, because even if you don't want to change the organization you're in, you can aim to be promoted, and you can even aim to get another role elsewhere out there. And for Alice discovery call, I'll tell you for sure, self-discovery calls are very critical and they're really important. And as you have heard from the different speakers, even when Nancy was talking, she kept transitioning at a different age. Even Alice kept transitioning at a different age. And even had Daniel with all the different skills, finding himself in different spaces. You never know the space you will find yourself. And you might require to at least to have gone through a self-discovery where you really understand yourself. Because once you're able to connect with yourself, everything becomes clear. And again, going back to it, it is all about you. This session has been brought to you by IHR Solutions. We focus in supporting job seekers, and over the years, we have done it, and we have brought in different speakers to support in different ways. My biggest request to you is this: if you feel there's somebody who is in dire need of help, please tell them to reach out to us. We have countless of support that we're able to offer. The biggest desire has always been, if I'm able to change one life, and that one life doesn't matter who it is, that person will be able to go and change another life. And from us to you, have a nice evening and have a good weekend as you think about how to change your own career path for your own self. Take care and thank you from us. We really appreciate you. If for any information you need in this event, please reach out to us and we'll be able to give you the support. Thank you very much. And thank you for the comments. I really appreciate the comments. I know it's an evening and we might all be busy, but the most important thing for me is ensuring you achieve what we had purposed to give you, and that is what we have done. Thank you and have a good evening. Take care all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye all.
Bye.
Thank you, Dorcas.
Most welcome.
Okay. Bye, guys. Good night.
Good night. That was awesome.
Thank you.